Right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today we have with us our very own Desi Superman. We'll ask him about Desi Superman thing also, but then it's such a privilege to be here. I mean, Sunil Menon is the man we've always. I mean, I personally am a big fan of his, and I still remember the first run I had with the Hyderabad runners. We were on the Shankarpalli road. I was there. Ravi Santanpalli was there, and then I was discussing the thing with another friend of ours who's presently in US right now. So 2 days back, I got in touch with him. Satish Mandalika. He was the race coordinator that day, telling the routes and all. And then Sunil Menon he just started off, and then it was such a good feeling to see him. I remember close to the finish line, he removes his t-shirt, six pack, and all. So another thing, if you see at his face, you can make out what kind of runner is he. Because I've read a book in which it says that if people don't comment on your health, that you have gone thin or you're not looking fine, that means you've been training well. So that is visible from his face. The kind of bones are visible to you. So welcome, Sunil. It's really a privilege to be here with you and interact with you. And as I said, everybody, please listen to this very, very carefully. It's going to be golden words from him, right from the horse's mouth. And we're going to have him for 45 minutes for the questions which we have prepared. And then 15 minutes will be the questions which you asked during the interaction with him in those 45 minutes. Everybody is requested to follow the house rules, which is to keep your mic off as well in the mute mode, and all the videos to be shut again, so that there's no disruption once we speak. So over to you, Sunil. We would like to know, how did it start from non-runner to as a coach, nutrition product? I mean, the host, a lot of things you have done. So please take us on that journey.
Yeah, firstly, I would just like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I think I'm equally inspired by your achievements, and it's great. And of course, all the people who are logged on to the session, thank you so much for joining and giving your time. I think that's very critical. And I hope that at the end of this talk, you'll have something to take away. Uh, Coming back to my journey, I'm a non-runner. I would say I was always brought up in a healthy background. And I'm basically from Kerala, and we always used to eat really good food. I mean, we never went to restaurants those days. There was no concept of restaurants. We used to eat coconut oil a lot, and that was a trend. And we never used to have. There was no fridge. There was no mixie. There was nothing. So the basic necessity was to eat natural food. The day you finish the food, you always ate fresh. And being a Keralite, coconut was one of the most important ingredient in our day-to-day life. And
Right.
I'm happy that I was brought up with that. And slowly, endurance started when I did enduro in I think 2002 or 2000 something. That time I had done. And after that, I came to Microsoft. I joined Microsoft in 2008. And 2008, I met a lot of expats, a lot of foreigners who had come and were working in Microsoft, and made a lot of friends with them. Then we started cycling, and then, I had gone once for running in botanical gardens, and it was a group of foreigners who were running, and they had a tradition that after run they would have beer. And I said, wow, this looks very funny to me. And that's where I met our chief, Rajesh Vecha. And he said, you should not run with this group, you should come to Hyderabad runners group. And that's how my running journey started. In fact, my first run was the 21K run, which I was not aware also of how much is 21. I had maximum run 13 kilometers. And then after I ran 21K, I came home, and then I started getting calls from my friends that you got first in the corporate category. And I felt that was a joke. And then actually I got a call from the organizer saying that, I've stood first in the corporate category. I think I clocked 1 hour 45 minutes something. And I think
That was the first 21.
first 21 ever that I ran in my life. So
Okay.
I was completely surprised. I said, how can 145 get a podium? And that was, I think, quite some time back. And
Correct.
I was in pain that time. So then I said, wow, I think this running is something that I can do. You know? Then I went for, I wanted to do a half marathon in Mumbai, but the registration for half marathon was closed. So I said, okay, let me register for full. Maybe I'll
Mm.
just do around the 21, 30 kilometers and then just come back. And I
Right.
did that. So I did 30 around in 30 kilometers. I think I'd already done around in 3 hours or less in that time. And then I was about to quit. Then the policemen there who were guarding, they're saying, "Saab, aapke paas aur bahut time hai. Why you're just going? You know, you can walk and finish. It's hardly, in some cases."
Bilkul.
I told I'm not interested. I just wanted to go. And then when I came to Hyderabad and people said, "Oh, you DNF." That time you know what DNF is all about. And then I
Correct.
said, oh, I should have completed the marathon. Then the next year I did my first marathon. I did it in 3 hours 45 minutes. So
Oh my God.
yeah, so always I have a concept of DNF all throughout. My first Ironman was a DNF or Zurich Ironman, and I was totally devastated. And that was one big learning for me to understand the basics of nutrition, understand the basics of physiology of training, using your right muscle groups, and also that's how it led. And now, I'm happy to be where I am.
Right. So, I mean, coming on to the DNF part, I remember you've always been vocal about your DNF because not generally people don't speak much about it. And I've seen you in various forums wherein you have gone ahead and said that there's no point because some people say that you crawl or whatever you do, you just finish it. But then I've seen you in various forums wherein you very clearly say that there's no harm in being a DNF and all. So take us that journey of yours wherein Ironman this happened and the first full marathon you said this happened. So why don't you just finish it the way generally people think? And then what is the concept behind that?
See, basically, I always feel that you should finish strong. You should not struggle and finish. There's no point in struggling and finishing. I won't be happy just to finish it for the sake of finishing it, to brag about it in Facebook and other stuff. Today, I think majority of the people, when they do something, they want to brag about it in Facebook. I'm not a social media guy,
Charger.
and I'm not judging people who are doing that too. My apologies if people are doing that, because every person has their own concept. It's my concept that I don't feel that bragging about it. And I feel,
I'll request to keep the mic off, please. There's some noise we can hear. Yeah, please. Sorry.
so I feel that a person should finish strong. He should not crawl. And if he is not prepared for it, it's better that you go back to the basics, learn where you're going wrong, and come back and finish it strong. And that's what I did in 2019 July. I again went to Zurich back because I had to do that course again. I wanted to
Right.
tell that I want to give an example to my kids more than anybody else that failing is okay, but not trying it again is not right. So I was not scared of failing again in Zurich. I said no, and just because I failed, it's not that I'm going to fail again. I wanted to go there,
Right.
the course, and I'm happy that I did it. And
Right.
I always believe that failure is more it gives you more experience than success. Success does not teach you anything. Believe me,
Absolutely.
success does not teach you anything. Failure teaches you a lot more than you can learn in success. In success, you don't know where things are going to go wrong. So
Absolutely. No, I fully agree. In fact, I remember taking this forward. There was this Mumbai marathon I was running, and that was the year I thought I'll hit a personal best as well as the Boston qualifier. So I started the run, and the initial part I was all very, very happy, very excited because your training has been good. And the race strategy went for a six because the moment I reached the 10-kilometer mark, then I saw Sunil Menon overtaking me. And the moment I saw that Sunil Menon overtaking, and that year I remember you and Amit Samarth were running together. So Sunil Menon is overtaking you at 10 kilometers, that means you are living in a fool's paradise. That you have started too fast, and that was the reason I messed up. And after 1 year of full training, I realized I had not improved even 1 second. So that was kind of a big setback. So that's very, very important. But then that lesson learned from that failure led me to doing a Boston qualifier the next year. So, as you said very rightly, and this was very clearly brought out in the last session also, we had one of our Everest climbers, Raji. She had to turn back from the 300 meters or close to the summit because she was not feeling well. Right. So there's no point struggling and dying on top. It's always good to come back, analyze what mistakes you have done, and then learn from them. So absolutely right. I fully agree that the things you learn from failures, you don't learn from anywhere else. Sunil, with one thing which is very, very peculiar with you, and everybody who knows you would ask this question. Anybody who wants to do a job outside corporate, IT, wherever, they're in some company, they have some dream company sort of thing. Microsoft is definitely one of those dream companies everybody wants to get into. You were then in Microsoft, but then you left Microsoft and then you joined, then you started your own venture, that too in fitness and running. Why was it? What was that thought process behind it? Because I know you are crazy, but then please go ahead with that.
Yeah, no. I think I need to dial back when I was in college also. So the biggest setback came when I was in college. I took 6 years to complete my graduation, to be frank. I was a rogue. I was completely in college. If girls would see me coming from the corridor, they would run away in the opposite side. So I was a terror in college. Yeah,
Right.
I repeated every class every year twice. So you can imagine that. So when Microsoft was also my dream company. In fact, when I was when I used to meet with a group of most of my friends are in the army, who joined the army. So we had a get together, and I was still having the last year I was still doing the second attempt of last year. So and I started studying computers in NIT. So I was very interested in computers. So I just told them, I would be interested in working in Microsoft. I want to get a job in Microsoft. And they all laughed at me. Said, Sunil, a guy needs a minimum of 60 to 70% or 75. In Wipro also will not take you. Forget Microsoft.
Right.
Microsoft is such a big company. You failed every year twice. You're barely going to pass this year also. And you expect to work in Microsoft. That's something very stupid. Be realistic. And I said, yeah, maybe, you're all right. But I always get that passion to work in Microsoft. And I was very good in programming. And I used to always give anything I give 100%. So that's how I started. And luckily, Microsoft came to Pune for interview. I cleared the interview and I got the job. And that's what brought me to Hyderabad, because I wanted to live my dream of working in Microsoft. Believe me, I worked in Microsoft for 8 years. It's one of the best companies I've worked with. I've worked with one of the best managers. And even in Microsoft, every manager used to support me. In fact, they would postpone or prepone the meeting because they said, okay, Sunil, we used to sleep by 9:30. Let's finish our meeting before 9:30. That was the amount of support I got from Microsoft. And uh, I was they put me in a technical leadership program called TLDP. This is the basic line of course where you actually become a technical leader in Microsoft. And that was one of the best programs, and it really changed the way I used to think about things. So they really taught how leaders think, how you
Okay.
start an organization ground up, how you create a vision for an organization, mission. So it's like you're taking the role of a CTO.
Okay.
And yeah, and the CTO of the company, and at the end of that thing, we had to give a presentation to the CTO about our project, about the subject was, what should Microsoft's strategy be in the next 2 years? And we are
Okay.
giving this presentation to the CTO of the company. And I created just 4 slides. They were basically black and white, not much. And my manager and my senior manager was supposed to come and be present in that meeting. And when they saw my presentation, they were like, this guy is going to screw it up royally, because other people had 15, 30 slides, very
Right.
jazzy, and they were like very well prepared. Slowly, I think was the 10th or 15th person to go in there. and people started coming, this guy doesn't even listen to me and all that stuff. And I was like, shit, I don't have nothing to show to this person, and then I went in, I gave him my presentation, I set my vision. I said, this is the vision that I have for Microsoft, and this is what it should go. And that time I had talked about services, going Microsoft should go as services, and the OS should be as services and all that stuff. And he was pretty impressed. He said, this is the first presentation which I loved, and he would listen to me for 30 minutes, which is a very big thing,
Correct.
And then my manager and his senior manager, they had smiles on their face, and I said, okay. And when I came out of the interview the presentation I gave, I said, I think I have that capability to create my own organization.
Okay.
But I didn't want to create a software organization. And I said, let me do something for the health aspect of it. Let me start a company. So I took around 3-4 months to write down the vision, mission for Men Fitness Systems. What should I do? What should the vision of Men Fitness Systems be? And even today, it's the same. And I'm very proud of all the things that I noted down. So I created a proper vision, mission statement, the organization, how it should be and everything. And then, one fine day, it took me a year to convince my family also that I want to quit. So it was not easy, specifically my wife. And of course, it's like Microsoft is paying you a very good salary. It's a nice, hefty salary that you're getting every month. You're getting a heavy, paycheck in your bank. And then when I said that I want to quit, and the whole family, my in-laws came to meet me personally. I remember, Sandeep Krishna, Raghu, Dheeraj Taneja, they also were like, they were very close friends. And of course, they wanted, the best from you. Said, before you quit, you have to answer these questions to us. And only if you answer these questions, if you have taken care of these things, then I think it will be better that, okay, you can quit now. So I'm grateful to God that, I had good friends who were really thinking good for me. And we all met. I answered their questions. I answered everybody's questions. And finally, I quit the job in Microsoft. And I believe one thing, if I have to do anything, I'll give my 100%. I didn't want to work in Microsoft and do coaching. I don't believe in part-time business. Okay, it's either here or there. And I don't get scared of failure, because once you get used to failures, failure is just another stepping stone for me. I said, let me fail. At least I can say that I tried out. So I said, if I'm good in coaching, I will survive. If I'm not good in coaching, then I'll go back to software industry or what else,
Absolutely.
Luckily, it's been 4 years. I'm very happy by the way I've helped people to, come meet their goals. But yes, I don't brag about it in Facebook. I always believe that every person who's achieved it, whether it's my trainee or somebody else, they need to get the limelight. I don't like to say, okay, I have coached him or I have coached her to meet their targets. It's their hard work, because I believe at the end, I can give a fabulous training plan to any person, but it's execution that's important. And if you don't execute the plan, it means nothing. So I believe that every person who meets their goal, a major lot is their effort and their thing. I'm just an enabler. I'm not a person who would want to take credit for any of their achievements. So yes, that's what I did. So when my first, I think Sunita Garu and Rao Garu were the first people to join Microsoft, Men Fitness Systems with me.
Okay.
And the first month, my wife panicked. So Sunil, do you know what a salary is? It was not even, I would say, it was 3 times less than what I would get in Microsoft, more than that. So she was like, she panicked. I said, don't worry, this is the phase, we have to go through this. And once we go through this phase, we will get through it. So yeah, that's why I quit Microsoft. I quit Microsoft because I wanted to give 100%, 200%. I don't believe in this part-time business. It's either here or there.
I know. I know you since 2012, and since then I know, and all those people who know you would agree with this, that there are no, I mean, there's no shortcuts or there are no halfways in whatever you do. Be it, doing Endurothon or let's say triathlons, Ironman. Because I remember the moment you quit Microsoft, it was setback for all the friends community. And because in those days, this culture of coaching was also not many coaches were there, especially in Hyderabad. I don't remember seeing any other person would start a coaching kind of a institute in Hyderabad. So that was again commendable. Other thing, tell me, people start running after some time. They come to know about Boston Marathon. Because for me, you were the first person I know who did the Boston. And after you, only people said, okay, I remember Rajesh coming to me. He said, okay, Romil, you should try for Boston. I was like, look at Sunil Menon, look at me where. But then it's kind of, I would relate it to the thing which we shared in our group also a few days back, which was that Roger Bannister moment. Once a person does that 4-minute mile, other people also feel that, have that belief, that we can do it. But then you did it so early. What was your motivation that time for Boston Marathon or an Ironman? Because that time these things were not very common. I'm sure the year you went for Boston Marathon, not many Indians were there.
Yeah. Not many Indians were there, but I always felt that if I have to run, I don't want to run a 4-hour marathon. I always felt that you know go finish strong, man. If you're going out there, just give your 200%. Don't leave anything in the tank. Finish strong. I never I don't like doing an average thing. Running is easy. 42 kilometers is nothing. You can
Right.
do it very easily. Even if you walk, you'll do. We are meant for endurance. So Boston I did it I qualified in one of the toughest courses in San Francisco, which is a hilly course basically. And yeah, 3:11 was my Boston qualifying time. And I was very happy to do that. And if you have a qualifying time, always want to reach that. So yeah, even now after my surgery, I had a setback in 2016. 2017. I had gone for a TV show. It was the worst decision in my life, where I jumped with a sandbag and into the ocean, and I broke my ACL, tore my ACL. It took me back by more than 2 years.
Right.
But yeah, I still felt that no, I could have always given that a reason and say, okay, now 4:34, I'll do that and I'll stick. But no, I want to still beat my Boston time. I still want to do a sub 3. My aim is to do sub 3 in by next year, and I'm sure I will reach that target. And I'm 47. I don't feel 47 for even anywhere. I don't feel I'm 47. So yeah, I'm strong mentally and physically. So I don't think sub 3 should not be a
Correct.
target that I can't do.
No, what I again see, for us, you were the role model because you did it so early. What was in your case? Who was the role model whom you could follow? Or because there's so many things you have done first time, be it a triathlon or an Ironman, or for that matter, Boston also. Whom did you look up to you?
So basically, see, there were very few amateurs who were role models that time. But
Right.
if I have to tell a few names, Thomas Bobby Phillip was one of the runners, very good runners
Right.
in Bangalore. And I was seeing people from Bangalore, Mumbai going for Boston Marathon, and I felt, why can't people from Hyderabad do it? So of
Right.
course, you know, that's where I got an inspiration when I saw Thomas Bobby Phillip, doing a marathon. I still respect him, and he's one of the best runners that we have. Very
Absolutely.
humble guy. So yes, that's how I got inspired by Thomas Bobby Phillip.
Okay, this was as regards marathon and thing. Tell me about ultra marathon, because you set a record during the Bangalore Ultra, but then after that we didn't see you doing a lot of ultras. Why is it so? Because that record was amazing. I mean, not many people could dream of that kind of a timing and that kind of a route. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So see, I got into Ironman. Basically, Bangalore Ultra was one of my best experiences. When actually I started the race 10 minutes late. In fact, yeah.
Okay.
and I started the race 10 minutes late, and I was running fast. And then those guys who were in front of me were doing, it was a loop, 25
Right.
kilometer loop it was. So they said, you're crazy, you're going to kill yourself in such a short time, we don't run so fast. You're just, so I think in the third or fourth lap or something, I just overtook them. And that's when they realized that, oh God, this guy is really running fast. He's not slowing down at all. So,
Yeah.
and that's time I got my nutrition and hydration perfectly right. I didn't take a single break. I was running constantly at a very constant pace. And my nutrition and hydration was perfect to the core. So at no point of time did I feel fatigued or, lack of energy. So yes, I finished strong. But then after doing Bangalore Ultra, my focus shifted to Ironman.
I know. Right.
And, uh, and I did Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, I really struggled to finish it off. Then I went to Zurich. So Zurich was a DNF, right? So when Zurich was a DNF, it took me another 6 months to go to South Africa and do it. You know.
Right.
So by the time I finished South Africa, I think it was in 2015 I finished. I was already planning to quit Microsoft. You know,
Okay.
so I was in that mode to do my Ironman certification course and quit Microsoft and prepare for it. Remove all the home loans and all that stuff before I
Right.
quit. So 2016 I started MFS Jan. November I quit. You know
Microsoft.
Microsoft. So it was like I never got a chance to do an ultra marathon. Ultra marathon is something that I would want to do again, definitely. In fact,
Okay.
Badwaters is one thing that I am always setting my eyes on. And Bharatwaj, our runner.
Arun Bharadwaj.
Sorry,
Arun
Bharatwaj.
Bharadwaj.
Yeah. He's one of my idols. I met him in New Delhi Marathon this time. And he's an amazing person. So I want to do Badwater.
Okay.
It's there in my list. So yes, I'm going to come back to ultra marathons. I'm going to kill it for sure.
I'm sure you're going to do it once you've decided. Okay, taking your journey now to coaching part, because I know you are so passionate about coaching that we can go on and on and on. Tell us your journey as a coach since the time you left Microsoft to now, how you have evolved. Because the best thing about you, I have realized is, since 2012, whenever I met you, you have always been learning, and there's always so much you got to share. And this is about the formal coaching, but then before that also you've been mentoring lots and lots of people with the kind of in-depth analysis you do, the studies you do. Take us through that, your journey of coaching people.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, see, always when I quit Microsoft, I wanted to do something, and then said, "You're passionate about it." I said, "No, I'm not passionate about it." See, for me, passion is 100%. Obsession is 200%. So if I do anything, it's going to be 200%. I am
Right.
obsessed. So obsession is what takes me forward. And I always wanted to learn. I'm always a learner. Even now I'm learning. There are so many
Right.
things that I keep learning and implementing for my trainees and all that stuff. So being a very eager learner and coaching people was a natural progress for me because I felt that coach needs to be a good leader also. You know,
Right.
there's no point if people don't see you as a leader, because if I tell something and you don't see me as a leader, then you won't do it. You know. In fact,
Correct.
I've coached so many people. I've coached CTOs, I've coached CEOs of companies and all that stuff. And they show me so much respect. They call me by sir, and it's not because you know they're uh, they're they're at a higher position or I am at a higher position, or it's just out of respect. The
Correct.
amount of respect that I've got being a coach, I don't think being in Microsoft as a senior developer I would have got that kind of a respect. And I'm always I see there are three concepts that I always believe to be a good coach.
Yeah.
Three C's. First is communication, commitment, and consistency. And
Okay.
And these are the three things that I always tell my trainees also, that if you don't communicate, we have to work as a team. You have to tell me what's going right, what's going wrong. That communication channel has to be there and has to be open 24/7. Whenever you want, you should be able to approach me, and vice versa. You know, commitment from both the sides, and consistency also. So you have to be consistent in your behavior, in your talks, in your
Right.
so, so once you establish that protocol, you know, and you stick to that protocol, then I don't think you will have any problem in coaching anyone. Basic thing is people should see you as a leader. People should accept you. People should take your word for it. Believe in you. You know,
Right.
I've seen people, who are knowledgeable, okay, but they're not accepted as coaches for the simple
Okay.
reason is that when you show desperation in trying to convince someone, people will not be convinced.
Okay.
I'm mentoring coaches also, and I tell, there are some coaches who go all out in their way trying to convince someone to do some things. I know they're right, but when you try to over convince someone, it always backfires. You know,
Correct.
so you should not be desperate to prove yourself. Desperation will always take you a step back. And people
Well,
will say, no, I think there's something wrong. So you have to thread that thin line. I think coaching is a very challenging job, believe me. It is, anything to deal with people is tough.
I'm sure.
Deal with people on a day-to-day basis with different mindset is not easy.
Absolutely. Okay, tell me this, how easy it is, because knowing you, so much of dedication, 200%. I'm sure not all students would be like that. There'll be some, they would listen some part of it, some would not listen. How do you handle that? And other thing I want you to focus is that, it's as we've discussed earlier, and I know it's not a Sunil Menon who's a running coach or a triathlon coach. You have a whole ecosystem with that. So tell us about that whole ecosystem which you have developed, including the nutrition part, breathing, complete setup.
Oh, that will take another 1 hour if I have to explain all that.
I know if you do it, it'll take 10 hours also. But then in a brief, considering the time we have, just briefly touch upon those aspects you have.
See, I always believe in having a coach relationship, and if things are not working, I'm happy to quit that relationship.
Right.
It should not be a forced thing, and quit in an amicable manner. It's not that I have many people who join my Menon Fitness Systems who have quit Menon. I'm still great friends with all of them. I don't like to burn bridges. I always believe that, a person can come and go whenever they feel like. And there are people whom I've been coaching since I've started MFS itself. So what's more important is their commitment. And there are lots of people who have got that commitment. And when they see the results, they are obviously going to be committed. Those who who are not committed, don't see results. And in the next thing, they quit because they're not motivated. They don't do, I ping them, I ask them questions. Sometimes I even throw them out. I mean, I don't want to use the word throw, but it's
I
a
know.
harsh word. But, I don't like to see, it's very simple. I don't like to waste my time on people who are not ready to, listen, or not ready to, or not invested equally in their own success. I better invest my time on persons who are ready to invest their time, who want to see progress. It's a very
Correct.
clear cut. See, there's no mincing words in this, right? You don't mince word. You don't try to be a sugarcoating. I'm not a sugarcoating guy. If it is not working, it's not working. Let's talk over it and let's move ahead. And
Right.
yeah, there have been instances where, of course, things are not going to work in between a coach and an athlete, and that's fairly acceptable. You have to accept it with a pinch of salt and go ahead. And coming back to the whole ecosystem that I have developed, I always believe mind comes first than body. So if
Okay.
you see the Menon Fitness quote also is mind, body, fitness, or mind, body, habits. So I always believe you should have a strong mental mindset. Then only you can have a strong body, and then only you can develop good habits for yourself. So I did breathing co certification because I felt breathing was one of the basic important things that people are doing wrong, completely wrong. You know, even if you say, pranayam, as simple as people doing pranayam, you know, they're doing it wrong. They don't know the standard method of doing pranayam.
Right.
To give you an example, inhalation is actually 5 seconds. You hold your breath for 20 seconds and you exhale for 10 seconds. Okay, that's
Right.
actual pranayam, and that cycle should go. Not many people are able to hold for even 10 seconds there. So they're not doing pranayam, they're just doing breathing from the left and exhaling from the right. And it's a spiritual process also. So anything you want to achieve, if you don't create a proper ecosystem, for example, even injury prevention, nutrition was another aspect. Why I created my own nutrition company was there was a lot of BS happening in the nutrition segment. You know, uh, I wanted to create a natural product for our athletes and make sure that what they have is what performance they're going to get. I didn't want to add these supplements. I don't eat protein supplements. Believe me, I don't take whey protein, pea protein, all that protein stuff. I don't take any of that. It's only natural food that I have. Believe me,
Right.
if I remove my shirt right now, I can show you six packs. I'm so
I know.
proud of my body. So there's no lack of strength or anything. I'm just not taking any supplements. It's all natural food that I'm having, and I feel very strong with just the natural food. And that's why I created this nutrition company called Sattva Nutrition. And UPTK Uptake is my where I created natural gel, dates gel, guava gel, and jackfruit gel, completely natural, no preservatives, nothing. I also created a hydration powder,
Okay.
which is completely of color additives and preservatives that people throw in there, and there's no and use coconut and lime. These are natural flavors, you know, for that.
Right.
Of course, we just started off. I'm still pumping in money in that, but I wanted to start something of my own. And
Right.
with my training, and my it was two of my trainees who partnered with me. They said, and in fact, they are the ones who gave me the suggestion. Sir, you have such a fabulous recipe that you are sharing with everyone. Why don't you
Right.
make a product out of it and then sell it across? And I said, okay, that will make it easier for everybody to use it. So that's how I started my own nutrition company. So
Very
yeah,
nice.
that's in short. I hope so.
I know. Okay. Now, Sunil, tell me this. There are different coaches. There are different philosophies. Right. Everybody. Somebody will say run less, run fast. Somebody will say base building, 3 runs per week, quality runs, those kind of things. What is your concept of a ideal training plan? What would you say should be? I mean, do you think first of all that there is one broad guidelines which people can follow for improving their timing? Is there anything like that?
See, it is a very simple technique. You have to do the three things: measure,
Okay.
measure, measure. You have to measure your progress. Okay.
Okay.
So now it all depends on one person to person basis, right? So in our system, what we do is we have a monthly test, math test, goal, time trial, goal, jo bhi ho. So when we do a test to a person, we easily know whether the person is making progress or not making progress. So adjusting the training plan accordingly becomes far more easier, you know, than anything. So there's no set method. For some people, I've given heart rate race training. For
Okay.
some people, it's completely RP based. Some people are using pace based. You know, so it all depends from person to person. Some people have run, walk, run. You know,
Okay.
so I always make sure that the person differs from person to person. You know, if the person is slightly aged, then I usually tend to give them run, walk, run, and make sure that they're
Absolutely.
not crossing their thing. And of course, nasal breathing is the key concept in all the training plans. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. That doesn't change at all. So no mouth breathing. So I don't believe
Right.
in mouth breathing at all. So when you're doing nasal breathing, you're always in that zone, you know.
Got it.
So see, coaching philosophy, there are, what I always believe is there's no silver bullet training for one person, you know.
Okay.
You cannot apply what training I'll give to you. I may not give to your colleague Kiran Kumar, whom I'm coaching. I hope you
Right.
know that. You know, I'm
Yeah.
coaching. You are the one who recommended.
You are the best. So I had to tell him.
So yeah, so he has a different plan compared to somebody else because he's basically just starting off. So I cannot give him something which is very intense. So
Right.
each one has their own slots of training, and then basically you guide them up and get them up to a certain level.
Okay, so here I would tell all the viewers that whatever Sunil is telling is not just based on what he studied, but he has followed also. I'll give you an example. Again, Mumbai Marathon, we were running, and I saw Sunil running and then stopping his buzzer. He had this buzzer in his watch, stopping then, and I was not able to guess it that time because in the final event, and that too Mumbai Marathon, which is generally a marquee event, somebody is trying all these things. So that means he's done so much of research. Then he was doing this. So all these things have been tested, and then only he's doing all these things. It's just not that you've read in the books and then you are following. So that surely goes ahead with whatever Sunil Menon is saying.
Yeah, I mean that's a right point. You know, I always eat my own food before I give it to others. So.
Right. That's true. So, okay, other point, there was one person while we were discussing, and they wanted to know, your concept of strength training, because my coach I had, he used to tell me that, Romil, there's no point doing upper body, a lot of weight. Some people, generally they have, we should be going to gym and not. So what is your concept of strength training only for marathoners, not for other distances like no sprinters or anything, just for marathon point of view? What is your focus on upper body strengthening?
See, I completely believe in upper body strengthening because you're not just running with your legs, right? You're not keeping your body in the hotel and running with your legs. You have to carry
Right.
your body along, and you're not running with your arms crossed, right? You're swinging
True.
your arms. So of course you're using your upper body. So the concept they are saying that upper body is not needed is fairly fails in that statement because you are using your upper body anyways. You are swinging
True.
your arms. At the end of the day, your arms are also shoulders are also tired when you're swinging. Try swinging your arms for 3 hours continuously. You'll obviously know how much it takes. Of
Right.
course, it gives you a balance. So anything that causes imbalance, anything and everything should be done in balance. If you don't do the balance, then you're going to go wrong. See, strength training, it's one of the most simplest things. Let me break it in a small fraction because strength training has three major concepts. Okay, there's nothing beyond that. First is concentric, eccentric, and isometric. Okay,
Okay.
concentric is concentrating your muscles. So you contract your muscles, it's concentric. Got my point?
Okay.
When you do extended, it's eccentric. And when you hold that position, it's isometric. Okay.
Okay.
So if you follow this concept and you break your training into these factors. So for example, let's say you want to do a push-up. Okay. You have to factor concentric, eccentric, and isometric in that percentages.
Right.
So minimum 10% should be isometric. Okay. Got my point. 40% concentric, 50% eccentric. So you do that thing in any exercise, you'll never go wrong.
Correct.
So people, when they do push-ups, when they do anything, they're just doing randomly. You just go and do. I've done 100 push-ups. I've done this, and they injure themselves. Doesn't make sense. And I believe
Okay.
in slow training. Slow training means slow reps. I don't believe in fast reps. So if you understand the concept of of training, strength training, okay, when you do slow training, let's say your muscles, the muscles are again divided into 3 to 4 parts: slow twitch, fast twitch, type A, type B. Okay, and there's one more, so it's a hybrid. So basically there are 3-4 muscle types that are there in your body. Now, when you do fast rep or whatever this, you're only recruiting one type of muscle group. Okay, you're only strengthening the slow twitch muscle groups because again you're reducing the fatigue. But let's say you're doing a slow rep training. Okay, when you do a slow rep push up or a slow rep squat, okay, what's happening is your slow twitch muscle fibers fatigue.
Okay.
Then your type 1 fiber gets recruited because your body has to support. Then type 2 has to be recruited. So that's how when you go to your fatigue point, when you do a slow rep and you do 5 push-ups, and you fatigue yourself in 5 push-ups, that slow rep 5 push-up is equivalent to 150 push-ups.
Okay.
Because you have recruited all muscle groups. And believe me, after you do a 5 rep or whatever, the next day you'll be completely fine.
Okay.
Compared to doing 150 push-up or 150 squats. So I always believe, whenever I used to go to US or anything, I used to meet my colleagues and all that stuff, and I used to go to the gym. So I asked them, how many squats can you do? Say, I can do 25 to 50. I said, okay, let's do 5 with me. I said, 5? I said, yes. I said, let's, if you win, then I'll treat you today. If I win, you treat me. I said, 5. And he said, easily I'll beat you. So when we start the first rep itself, they say, boss, it's dicey. I can't stand that. So, 5 push-ups is enough for building your strength. So usually, if you understand the concept of strength training, then you'll never go wrong in anything. Again, people don't measure their strength training. That's another aspect. You have to measure. So today you're able to do 10 push-ups. Tomorrow you should be able to do 15 or whatever, and slowly increase it up. Always measure. If you're able to measure your strength training, you will definitely not go wrong. That's another thing. One more thing specifically for runners. Most of the people, when they do strength training, they're only focusing on active muscle groups. Our body consists of active as well as passive. Now, active muscle groups are your quads and your hamstrings. Okay. They're strengthened completely by doing hamstring curls and this. But nobody focuses on obliques. Nobody focuses on abductors. Nobody focuses on your core. The transverse abdominis, your glute muscles. Nobody tries to strengthen them. And these are the supporting muscle groups. These are the muscle groups that actually require a lot of strength training. And that's where I see a lot of people getting injured because their obliques are weak. When you see them running, they're as if their legs don't have any strength only. Either they're going this that way. That's because their obliques are weak. Their abdominals, they've not strengthened their abductors and adductors. They're not using their glute muscles. They're not strengthened them or activated them. So focusing. So these are the parts. So let me just recollect it for everybody's sake. True. Number 1, muscle strength training consists of 3 parts: isometric, concentric, isometric, and eccentric. Okay, that's the thing. Second thing is three types of muscle groups: fast twitch, slow twitch, type 1, type A, type 1, type A, type B. Okay. Fourth is you have active as well as passive muscle groups. Okay. Fifth is measure. If you follow this whole pillar, your whole strength training plan is clear. You'll be a better runner. You'll not have any injury.
Okay, Sunil, tell me this. With so much of details into all these things, like measure, doing these many sets, these many reps, how do you maintain the charm of running? Don't you lose the fun of running altogether because you're constantly focused on what kind of exercise? Too focused on this. Is it? What is your take on that? It's not easy to be so much focused, because you're focusing only on these aspects. Then you lose the fun. I understand that you improve your timing, those kind of things. Obviously, is going to be there with so much of hard work. But then, is it not something which hinders your fun part of it out of it?
So when we are going out for running, if you see most of my runs, I always run with our Hyderabad runners group and all that stuff. I'm not focusing on pace at all. In fact, if most of my runs when I'm running with my friends and like Sandeep Krishna or Raghu and all that stuff, I'm just chit chatting with them, having fun,
Right.
giving galis, doing, you know, talking a lot. So that time I'm not even focusing on pace or anything because
Okay.
you've already done the hard work, right? When you're running long runs, it has to be slow pace, easy talk, and you know, some long runs are mixed with some paces. So we all do it together. So I always run with their pace. I'm never worried about my pace, my timing, and all that stuff. I always like to
Okay.
go out and have fun and give
Correct.
as much galis as I can. You know, I just I love
Uh,
to express myself in all
True.
ways.
Okay. So everybody who's part of this, make sure that you go through whatever you said again, because I'm sure it's not easy to understand whatever you told in the first go. So you'll have to go through it, revisit the link again, and then have a look. Okay, another aspect which would again take an hour or more, or maybe days, but then I'll try and ask you and request a short reply would be uh, your take on stretching, because again different people have got different takes on this, that you should be doing stretching, what kind of stretching you should do, and maybe a minute or two, let's say it's less, but then still on recovery part of it.
See,
Huge
yeah,
topics.
see, yeah. Let me tell you, just apart from that, recovery. See, when your muscles are tired, okay, your
Right.
muscles are like rubber band. Agree or not? They are of simple fibers. When a rubber band is hot, what happens? It becomes very loose, right?
Right.
If I stretch a hot rubber band, it's going to break. So imagine your muscles are like rubber bands. They're like hot rubber bands. They're fatigued.
Okay.
When your muscles are fatigued, that's the worst time to do stretching because it needs rest. It does not
Okay.
need you to stretch. The best thing is to do foam rolling. The best thing is to do foam rolling. The best thing is to do leg drains when you're finished with your workouts. Leg drains is when you put your legs up and you sit. So that's one of the best things that you can do to your body. Hydration is key. Many people do not hydrate after the long run. You
Okay.
know, they're stretching. In fact, you have to drink at least 650 to 750 ml for the next 2 hours. Your hydration does not end after your run. Your hydration has to continue 2 hours after your run. The
Okay.
other mistake that people do is they have that whey protein and protein shake, recovery shake, and all that BS. Okay. Your body does not need that because once you eat something that's heavy, the blood flows will be more in your stomach. People don't understand the concept of this. Protein
Right.
is a difficult thing to digest. You cannot digest
Absolutely.
protein. And if you take immediately after the run, if you take protein, your body is going to say, oh, now I've got food in the stomach. So all the blood flow will go from your leg muscles and get into your stomach and try to digest that part. Whereas your stomach, your legs need rest. So basically, what I personally do is I am at least I don't eat anything for the next 1 hour, 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Okay. I'm basically hydrating myself as much as possible. That's one thing that I do. Immediately after run, I usually go home. I always eat home cooked food. I wait for some time. I relax myself. I hydrate myself, and then only I have my breakfast. You know, for women it is slightly different. They need to have it a little earlier, but you don't need a protein supplement. What your body needs is rest.
Okay.
Give that body rest; it will recover faster. The best way to
True.
recover faster is to give your body rest after you do that. You know, leg days your this. Don't immediately get into the car and start your AC and saying, I'm giving my body rest. Sunil, you told
Right.
me rest, so now no, that's not rest. Rest means you properly relax, lie down on the ground, whatever, drink, but keep yourself hydrating. Don't eat
Right.
away protein shake and all that. That's all BS company nonsense.
True. So taking this further, I would say, for Everest also, once we had gone, so we realized, there's no point taking protein there, because their oxygen is as it is less. So if your oxygen is less, then protein digestion would again take a lot of oxygen from your body through the blood. So it's always good to carry carbohydrates. Similarly to what you're saying, absolutely holds true for that
So it's
context as well.
right. your body is anyways tired. It's as if you're not climbing Mount Everest, but obviously your the oxygen level in your body is definitely low, and your body needs rest. It needs time. So what? Thanks for validating.
Absolutely. No. So we used to follow that completely. So in fact, initially I was surprised because generally we have that craze for protein. So we'll carry this protein for Everest and other things. But then on research we realized, generally protein is not the advisable food there because it's not going to make much sense. And the way he's talking about running, it goes ahead for the similar aspect as well.
Yeah.
So it goes with that. Okay, other thing which I want you to focus is about most of the people we see during their runs, they have this thing called hitting the wall in a full marathon. With so much of knowledge you have, you tell me how do you guide your people to avoid that experience?
So pacing is very important. Number one, that's one thing that I focus. Number two that I focus is nasal breathing.
Okay.
You have to breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose, so that you're not hyperventilating. Most of the people who hit the wall, they are hyperventilating. Okay.
Right.
If you lose your conscious sense, then it becomes a difficult thing. So when you breathe nasal breathing, when you do, you're obviously going to slow down because your muscles are tired. You're going to slow down naturally. So
Right.
hitting the wall does not arise when you do nasal breathing. And of course, hydration is the next thing that's very important. So keep yourself hydrating. So I always tell every 2 kilometers, wherever you find, take a sip of water, with whatever is there, whether it's Gatorade or whatever, just take a sip. Don't keep on drinking too much. Pour water in your hand. Cool your core body temperature. Your core body temperature is something that you need to work on. So just putting water in your hands and rubbing it can cool your core temperature. So moment
Right.
hitting the wall happens because your core temperature is gone out of vacuum. So pouring water on your head, that's key important so that you don't your core temperature stays low. So these are the small techniques.
Okay, Sunil, tell me anything about salt tablets because generally you've spoken about those kind of supplements or gels which are available there. A lot of mixes are there which are not healthy for your body. It's only for a short-term gain you have. But then tell me about salt tablets. Do you think and those are actually required? What is the extent of their reaction on the body? How does it help?
See, it is salt tablets is a double-edged sword. Actually, you have to be very careful when you take it. I'll tell you the science behind it. First of all, when you have the salt tablet, you should open the cap and put the salt as is in your mouth. Don't take the capsule in because when you take the capsule in, it's not going to digest. It's just going to float in with the water.
Right.
It's not going to break it because your stomach does not have the capacity to break that. The blood flow is not there. So the best way is to open the capsule and have it. That way, what happens is the salt will get more into it. But the problem with salt also is if you take too much salt and you don't drink enough water or hydrate it, what's going to happen is it's going to draw water from your muscles.
Right.
So because your stomach has to digest the salt. So if you take too much salt and you don't eat or you have a gel immediately after that, it's going to take water from your muscles and then you'll start getting cramps. Then you'll say, in spite of having salt tablets, I got cramps and all that stuff. That's because you didn't hydrate yourself properly. You didn't take water. Whenever we take a gel also, I always tell people how to take a gel is very important. You take a sip of gel, you don't drink, you don't swallow the gel. You take a sip of water, gargle it for at least 5 seconds before you take it in. So that gargling thing is very important, for that, so that you don't feel sloshy in your stomach. So these are the few techniques that if you follow, you'll never get any kind of issues.
Okay. So Sunil bhai, there is one question the individual wants to know about the shoe brands. We all understand what kind of market everybody is trying to go, be it Vaporfly or any other model. Not going on to any model specific. What is your take on the kind of shoe a person should wear for marathon training or marathon event?
Yeah, the weight of the shoe is very important. Number one.
Okay.
So it has to be lightweight. If you take a heavy shoe, it's not going to work. Number one, it has to be comfortable. I would not recommend barefoot running for doing a marathon because at least the roads are not suitable enough for barefoot running. But people
Correct.
who used to barefoot running can go. So it depends on that. But the weight of the shoe is the key aspect for it, and that I can vouch for it because I brought various shoes of various brands and seen the weight. The weight because every gram that you put on your legs, it's like a chain that you're tying. Okay,
Okay.
and you have to carry that weight. It becomes 10 times more. So if it is a 30 gram, if you multiply it 10 times, that's the weight that you're going to carry for the rest of the marathon. Okay.
Absolutely.
So you are carrying weight on your legs, and your weight that is going to count. So having a light shoe is very important. Okay.
Right.
Number two is that I would it depends on person to person how their gait is. I would prefer to have a zero drop shoe, basically.
Okay.
That is very important for making sure that you're not heel striking. You're landing.
Correct.
So that's the second criteria I would say, to make sure that your thing is good. Now, of course, now we've got carbon plates and all that stuff in shoes. So
True.
now the performance has reached a different level now. If you
Absolutely.
have the money, you can always go in for carbon plated shoes. You'll get performance out there.
True, true. Okay, I think we are done with the time. I'll request everyone to please switch on their videos. So we'll take the picture, and there's a request from Shiv Koshi. He wants to see the six pack in the photograph which we're going to click. Sunil bhai.
Really, you want me to remove my T-shirt? No, there are so many people out there.
There's a personal request from Shiv Koshi.
I'll send it to him personally.
No. So nice of you. So we'll have a photograph now. Everybody wants to take a picture can take. And I think we are done for the day. Okay, one last thing we'll want to ask is that what's your next immediate target? You have said about sub-3 full marathon, ultra marathon. What's your next immediate you would looking for?
I want to go for Kona. I want to qualify for Kona Ironman. And I'm working hard for it. I'm giving my 200%. I don't know if I'll qualify, but I'm training 18 to 19 hours a week.
Okay.
Last April till April, I trained 100 hours in last month, and I'm going to go for it, man.
So, which is the race you plan? I mean, I know there's a COVID time and difficult, but then still.
Copenhagen, 15th August. I want to do it on Independence Day of India.
Okay. Wonderful. Sandeep, I think Sandeep Yadi has switched on this. Okay, Sunil, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for staying back and listening to me. I'm grateful. Thanks, Roman. And
No, Sunil, I think we'll need to revise 2-3 times this video. Then only we'll understand what all you've spoken and assimilate. Thanks so much, everyone. Good night. Jai Hind.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Shiv.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
And bye, everyone.